Ava Carter had mastered the art of juggling. Not flaming batons or glittering circus pins, she wasn't that kind of performer, but the invisible kind of juggling that single mothers everywhere learn by necessity: work deadlines, school schedules, grocery lists, and the occasional emotional meltdown, hers or her 6-year-old's, depending on the day. That Thursday evening, she was running on 2 hours of sleep, 3 cups of coffee, and the faint optimism that maybe, just maybe, her laptop would survive one more month without dying mid-report. Her small apartment smelled faintly of reheated chicken nuggets and cinnamon shampoo from Emma's bath earlier. The living room was a battlefield. Lego bricks scattered like mines, abandoned coloring books sprawled open, and a forlorn Barbie missing an arm leaning against the couch cushion like she'd just fought in a war. "Mommy, one more story," Emma pleaded from the couch, pajama-clad and clutching her stuffed bunny. Ava glanced at the clock. 8:47 p.m. If she started another story now, she'd be racing against the clock to finish the quarterly shipment report for Hart & Company, the luxury interior design firm that paid her just enough to keep the lights on. But Emma's wide brown eyes had a gravitational pull. "One more," Ava said, sinking down beside her daughter. But then straight to bed. The story, about a brave mouse who tricked a hawk, ended with Emma giggling sleepily. Ava knew her daughter wouldn't stay awake much longer. Bedtime always ended the same way, Emma giving a sweet little, "Good night, Daddy," voice note to send to her father, who lived 3 states away. "Ready," Ava said, unlocking her phone and pulling up the message thread with her ex-husband. Emma leaned close to the microphone. "Good night, Daddy," she said in a small, sleepy voice. She grinned, proud of her delivery. "Perfect," Ava said, smiling faintly. She tapped the send button without looking too closely. She'd done it dozens of times before, then tucked the phone away and ushered Emma to bed. By the time Ava returned to the living room, the apartment was quiet except for the hum of her ancient laptop fan. She sank into her chair, stretching her neck, and began hammering out the last section of the report. Shipment delays from the Milan office, updated quotes from the supplier. Ping. She glanced at her phone, expecting a reminder email. Instead, her stomach dropped. "Michael Hart. Say that again." Ava blinked at the message, confused for a moment. Then she tapped the thread open. Her blood ran cold. Right there, at the bottom of her chat with Michael Hart, CEO of Hart & Company, her boss's boss, the man she'd seen strike fear into seasoned executives, was Emma's soft little, "Good night, Daddy." "Oh no," she whispered. She scrambled to make sense of it. She must have been in Michael's chat earlier in the day, probably discussing the Milan shipment delay, and never closed it. So when she recorded Emma's bedtime message, it hadn't gone to her ex-husband at all. It had gone to Michael Hart. Her thumb hovered over the screen, panic buzzing in her veins. She started typing. "Ava, that was my daughter. Wrong chat. Very sorry." She paused, frowned. "Too stiff." She deleted it and tried again. "Ava, oh my gosh, so sorry, that was meant for her father. Please ignore." Before she could send it, 3 gray dots appeared. She froze. "Michael, so you call me Daddy now?" Ava's mouth fell open. No, this couldn't be happening. Michael Hart wasn't known for jokes. He was known for 30-minute meetings that felt like interrogations, perfectly tailored suits, and eyes like steel that could slice through excuses. Was he teasing her, or was this some kind of test? She had no idea. She typed back, quickly, "Ava, absolutely not. That was my 6-year-old saying goodnight to her father." 3 dots appeared again. "Michael. Shame. Thought I was getting a promotion in title." Ava's cheeks burned. She wasn't sure if she wanted to laugh or resign immediately. This was uncharted territory. She'd never seen Michael be anything other than strictly professional, and now here he was, making dad jokes. She decided the safest move was to put her phone down, face first, and pretend she'd never seen the messages. The next morning, she wasn't so lucky. The elevator to the 34th floor was crowded, but Ava's nerves made her feel like she was the only one inside. Her mind replayed the voice note fiasco on an endless loop. She'd imagined all kinds of worst-case scenarios: Michael calling her into his office to discuss communication boundaries, our scheduling a mysterious check-in, or him simply never looking at her the same way again. The weekly Friday briefing was in the glass-walled conference room at the end of the hall. Ava took her usual seat near the middle, clutching her notepad like a life raft. Around her, designers, coordinators, and managers chatted in low voices. And then Michael walked in. He was as composed as ever, navy suit, crisp white shirt, dark hair perfectly in place. He set his tablet on the table and scanned the room. His gaze passed over everyone, until it landed on her. For the briefest moment, she thought she saw a flicker of amusement in his expression. She focused on her notepad as though it contained the secrets of the universe. The meeting went on as usual. Updates from the design teams, supplier issues, a new luxury client in Dubai. Michael's tone was businesslike, clipped, efficient. Not a single reference to bedtime messages or daddy titles. By the time the meeting ended, Ava was almost convinced he'd moved on. Almost. At lunch, her phone buzzed. Michael. Hope you finished your report last night. Didn't mean to distract you. She sighed, typing back. Ava. Report was finished. And you didn't distract me. After a pause, she added. Ava. Well, maybe a little. She stared at the message for 5 seconds, horrified at her own daring, then hit send anyway. Michael. Noted. That was it. No teasing, no follow-up, just that one word, somehow more loaded than a paragraph. By the end of the day, Ava's nerves had settled into a strange mix of relief and curiosity. Michael Hart wasn't the type to let anything slip without reason. If he'd teased her last night, it had been deliberate. And if he'd gone back to his usual self today, that was deliberate too. She wasn't sure which unsettled her more. That night, as she tucked Emma into bed, her daughter asked, Did Daddy say goodnight back? Ava hesitated. Not exactly, she said with a small smile. But I think he heard you loud and clear. Emma yawned and snuggled into her pillow. You should say goodnight to people too. Makes them happy. Ava kissed her forehead. Maybe you're right. When she closed Emma's bedroom door and picked up her phone, there were no new messages from Michael. She told herself she was relieved. The following Monday morning, Ava walked into the office armed with coffee, determination, and a personal vow to keep all communications with Michael Hart short, formal, and utterly devoid of bedtime phrases. She'd even typed up a little sticky note for herself. No voice notes. No slip UPS. N.O. Daddy. It was stuck to the corner of her monitor like a holy reminder. She was halfway through sorting invoices when a shadow fell across her desk. She didn't need to look up to know who it was. His cologne, subtle but expensive, had already reached her. Carter. Michael's voice was smooth as glass. Could I borrow you for a moment? Her brain, unhelpfully, supplied a dozen sarcastic comebacks. Borrow you? You already have my dignity. Instead, she looked up and said, Of course, Mr. Hart. His eyebrow ticked upward. Mr. Hart, I thought we agreed that was too formal. We didn't exactly agree, she said carefully, following him toward his office. He didn't reply, but she swore she caught a ghost of a smirk as he opened the glass door and gestured for her to sit. Michael's office was minimalist perfection. Dark wood desk, floor-to-ceiling windows, one strategically placed art piece that probably cost more than her car. He took a seat across from her instead of behind his desk, which immediately made her suspicious. I want your opinion on something, he said, sliding a folder toward her. She blinked. Mine, yes, unless you've secretly been replaced by someone else in this chair. Her fingers tightened on the folder. It's just, you usually have senior managers review proposals. That's true, he said, leaning back slightly. But I've noticed you catch things others miss. Details. Tone. The compliment warmed her, though she tried to keep her expression neutral. She opened the folder, scanning through the pitch materials for a new client in Paris. The designs were stunning, but something about the color palette didn't quite work with the client's brand. She pointed it out, explaining her reasoning. Michael listened intently, nodding. Good, that's exactly what I needed. As she handed the folder back, she couldn't help but ask, why me, really? His gaze held hers. Because I trust your judgment. Her heart did a strange little flip. She quickly stood, mumbling something about needing to update the shipment logs, and made a strategic retreat. The next week, Michael's visits to her desk became frequent. At first, it was strictly business, a question about supplier timelines, a request for clarification on a report. But sometimes he lingered just a second longer than necessary, or his gaze would flicker with that same faint amusement she'd first seen after the incident. By Wednesday, she'd noticed a pattern. He always found a reason to stop by within an hour of her arriving in the morning. Sometimes it was under the guise of checking in, other times he brought her coffee, black, no sugar, exactly how she liked it. She never remembered telling him that. It was equal parts flattering and unnerving. One evening, the office was nearly empty when Ava finished compiling a budget forecast. She was slipping her laptop into her bag when Michael appeared in the doorway. Working late, he observed. Trying to get ahead, she replied. If I leave this for tomorrow, it'll haunt me all night. Practical. He glanced at her bag. Heading straight home. Yes, she said cautiously. His mouth curved slightly. Tell your daughter I said goodnight. Her pulse jumped. You're never going to let that go, are you? Not when it's this entertaining. He tilted his head, studying her. Though, I think I'm starting to understand why she says it so sweetly. Her cheeks went hot. I should go, she said quickly, brushing past him before her imagination could get ahead of her. The next few days blurred with deadlines, client calls, and a growing awareness that Michael Hart was different with her now. Softer, in some ways. More teasing, definitely, but also more attentive. Once, during a team lunch, she mentioned Emma's fascination with art, and Michael asked thoughtful questions, what kind of art, whether she'd ever visited the museum downtown, if she liked painting or drawing. He remembered her answers days later, referencing them in passing. It was unsettling how much he listened. Then came the charity gala. Hart and Company hosted it every spring, a black tie fundraiser for an arts education program. Ava had always worked behind the scenes, coordinating logistics. This year, however, Michael sent her an invitation with a handwritten note, "You should be seen, Carter." The dress she chose was simple but elegant, navy satin, with a modest neckline and a skirt that skimmed her ankles. She arrived feeling slightly out of place among the glittering crowd, clutching a glass of sparkling water. She spotted Michael across the room, engaged in conversation with a board member. His suit was tailored to perfection, the silver at his temples catching the light. When his gaze found hers, it lingered. He excused himself and made his way over. "You clean up well," he said, his eyes sweeping over her in a way that made her both self-conscious and strangely powerful. "Thanks. You too." She gestured at the crowd. "Busy night for you." "Not too busy," he said. "Dance with me." She blinked. "You, dance." He offered his hand. "Try me." The band was playing a slow jazz number. On the dance floor, Michael's hand settled lightly at her waist, his other guiding hers. He moved with quiet confidence, his gaze never leaving her face. "This isn't very professional," she murmured. "Neither was calling me daddy," he said, deadpan. She choked on a laugh, nearly stepping on his shoe. "You're impossible. And yet," he said softly, "you're still here." The night ended without incident, but Ava left with her thoughts tangled. Michael wasn't just teasing anymore, there was something deliberate in his attention, a steady pull she wasn't sure she wanted to resist. A week later, it happened again. Late at night, her laptop open, Emma insisting on sending her father a voice note. Ava double-checked the chat thread this time, twice, before hitting send. When she picked up her phone the next morning, there was a new message from Michael. "Michael. No good night for me." Her breath caught. She typed before she could talk herself out of it. "Ava. Good night, Michael." His reply came almost instantly. "Michael. Closer. But you can do better." She stared at the screen, half exasperated, half smiling. She didn't answer. Not yet. The following Friday, she walked into his office to drop off the finalized client pitch. He was at his desk, but when he looked up, there was something different in his expression, a softness, almost. "Got a minute?" he asked. She hesitated. "Sure." He gestured for her to sit. "I know I tease you. Probably more than I should. But I want you to know, I value what you do here. You've made this place run smoother in ways most people don't see." She blinked, caught off guard. "Thank you. That means a lot." He smiled faintly. "And, for the record, I never minded that first voice note." Her pulse skipped. "Even though it wasn't meant for you. Especially because it wasn't," he said. "It was real. And I don't get a lot of real in this job." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. She held his gaze for a moment longer than she meant to, then stood. "I should let you get back to work." As she reached the door, he called after her. "Carter." She turned. "Good night," he said. It was morning, but somehow, she knew exactly what he meant. Later that night, as she tucked Emma into bed, her daughter mumbled sleepily, "Good night, Mommy." Ava kissed her forehead. "Good night, baby." When she stepped into the kitchen, She picked up her phone and opened Michael's chat. She hesitated for a long moment, then hit record. Her voice was soft, almost amused. "Good night, Daddy."